Hi, Chamber President CEO Jeff Ray here with Dr. Don Westerhausen. Dr. Westerhausen is a candidate for St. Joseph County Commissioner District Number 1. Don, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Don, we do these each year just to try to give our membership a better feel for the different candidates running in key races. You've decided to run in Commission District Number 1. First, for those who are unfamiliar with you, tell us a little bit about Dr. Don and who he is.
Okay, well, a lot of things, I guess. I'm a father, a husband, and a cardiologist is my profession. I'm an interventional cardiologist that just kind of backed off into general cardiology this last year. So I was the kind of guy that puts stents in, and interventional cardiologist will be also the kind of guy that puts valves in, like through your legs, or do the cath through your wrist. And I did that. I've done that, forever. But we moved here in 1993 after I got done with my interventional fellowship. So we've been in town the whole time. Actually, the house that I'm living in is the only house my wife and I have ever bought, and I'll probably end up dying in this house. And I backed off because I was just getting burned out doing interventional cardiology. And I didn't want to be on call and then do the whole weekend and do the whole Monday thing. And I was able to find a position that would allow me to do cardiology on a part-time basis with no weekends or call. So I just started that within the last couple months. And that's at the South Bend Clinic. My wife and I have been married 41 years. We started dating when we were 15 years old. Really never had another girlfriend other than my wife. And she's followed me everywhere. And she's actually the one, I mean, when I came out of fellowship, I had 18, 19 job offers, and we narrowed it down, and I let her pick because she had followed me, to different places for my training. And she really fell in love with South Bend. And so we thought this would be a good place to settle down and raise a family. And we really haven't been disappointed. 3 children. I have my oldest is a critical care pulmonologist who's on staff at IU. His wife's a family practice doctor. We get the feeling that they're probably going to be moving back up here and joining one of the 2 hospital systems, which we're excited about because that means we get 3 grandkids that are a lot closer. I have a daughter who's does public health in Chicago. She works mostly out of Chicago, and she does kind of research mostly in maternal mortality right now, and that's through the Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern. I'm an alumni, and then the last one is my son, who's an accountant in Indianapolis.
Great. No, thanks, Dr. Don. Appreciate the insight into your family. Thanks for the good work that you do and have done in the medical field. I know a lot of people are very appreciative of your good work there. So, Don, let's talk Commissioner for a second. First, you're running for Commission District Number 1. Start by those that are unfamiliar. Give us a general feel for where District 1 is.
Well, after the redistricting, which is one of the things you have to understand of why it was vital for me to run, basically goes all the way from Harris Township across the northern part of the county, and then down and ends up on New Road by Green Township. It doesn't cover all of Harris Township. It only goes down to Douglas Road, and then it goes across, like I said, so it goes from Harris, Clay, German, Warren, Olive, and Green to down to, they said New Road. And then there are 4 precincts in Portage. Right at Portage Township, right kind of along the western end of Portage Road.
Okay, good. And Don, so again, maybe another, just to help our folks who are tuning in, help them better understand a commissioner, what a commissioner does and why that's important to them.
Well, so as a lot of people know that St. Joe County is a little different than most counties in Indiana. For some reason, and I'd like to go into the history of this, but I'll wait until after I become commissioner. It's us in Lake County have commissioners who are the executive branch, and our council is the legislative and fiscal branch. And my understanding is that in other counties in Indiana, it's just the other way around, and the commissioners basically do everything for the most part. But for our county, being the executive branch, you're in charge of the day-to-day running of the county, in charge of appointing all the department heads. You're responsible for a lot of the approval of contracts and making sure that money that's appropriated by the council is spent appropriately. I think I mean, for the most part, that's pretty much what they do.
Yeah, no, that's good. So Don, you're doing the medical thing, and you've decided to take a slightly different path here and run for office here. So talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to run for the commissioner seat.
Well, I was drafted. I was supporting Jason Critchlow strongly. He had announced to run for District 1 a year before he had to file, and he was raising money. And let's just face it, the commissioners decided to do a power grab to try to make 2 of the 3 seats favor Republicans and to keep Republican control of the commissioners. And by doing so, and by making the different council districts from the 3 Republican districts break the Democratic veto-proof majority on the council. And I get that. But what they did also is they also gerrymandered Jason Critchlow right out of the race. And I had run before for State House in a district that's never been won by a Democrat. It's a Republican district. And I've done really incredibly well. I think the party thought that I would be a good candidate, pretty much middle of the road, to run in a district that was going to be set up to be a Republican district. Obviously, there was a lawsuit. The county lost like $500,000, which was needless in that, people couldn't sit down across the table and just come up with a compromise. And it was that whole process, Jeff, to really tell you the truth. I really felt like it was a power grab. I felt that, there was some hypocrisy with respect to it. It made me very angry. And I felt like somebody needs to stand up. And when I started looking at all this stuff, really, there was a lot of things that I thought we could do better in county government, especially with the commissioners.
Great. So Don, as we think about plugging you into the commissioner seat, talk a little bit about just the skill sets you bring, certainly, in your medical practice and different volunteer, other things you've done in the community, but translate some of that for us into what you think some of the skills are that you think will be beneficial to the executive branch here running on the commissioners.
Well, I mean, so I was in private practice for decades, and I was the president of our corporation. And we had 4 different satellite offices total, all around anywhere from Marshall County, Elkhart County, and then in St. Joe County, of course. So I do bring a little bit of business background. I mean, doctors concentrate on doctoring and they don't necessarily concentrate on business, but by being the president of that corporation and, making sure that, things that needed to be done, making payroll, things like that were done. I have some experience there. I have experience with leadership and I think some innovation. I'm the president and one of the founders of the Midwest Cardiology Research and Educational Foundation, where we basically do the most cardiovascular research in north central Indiana. Instead of getting paid for the research with different companies or even through the NIH, you can get paid if you're a doctor that does the research. We put that research back into a fund, and we use that money not only to run the institute, but to also fund scholarships for the School of Medicine. And we also use that money to fund basically a fund to help indigent people or underinsured people be able to get their medications. We also do a lot of outreach with respect to teaching people CPR and getting defibrillators to different offices or places like schools, things like that. I started several programs in our area, including the first heart failure program, the first pharmacy-run anticoagulation clinic. So I try to think outside the box so that we can help, with different aspects of what we do to make it easier, more efficient, and better for patients. So I do think I do have a little bit of a business background. I have a leadership background, and I think those are two things that would be useful in the commissioner's office.
Great. So Don, you get elected. So what are your priorities? What are the things that are most important to you should you get elected and head into the commissioner's office?
Well, I think the first thing I like to do is just bring some more integrity, transparency, and honesty back into the commissioner's office. I mean, especially if you watch what's been going on the last month, there's just such acrimony and really incompetence that's going on in the commissioner's office. And I think the first thing a person needs to do is once you get in there, we need to make sure that we restore confidence in just the commissioner's office itself. I mean, other things that are important to me, public safety is important, but not just for fire or police. The things that I would really like to concentrate on are the 911 center. We've had some problems with that in the past. I want to make sure that that works smoothly because it's near and dear to my heart. The other thing too is supporting things that Sheriff Redmond has done. He's done some great stuff with county law enforcement and making sure prisoners have opportunities so that to decrease the recidivism rate. I'd like to make sure that our county mental health response unit, has everything that it needs to be successful. So that we don't have tragedies, that can occur, and we have police doing the policing and people who are expert in mental health, do that kind of, they do what they need to, what they've been trained to do. Health department, I think, is really important. I think we did really well with our health department in the pandemic. And to be real honest with you, I haven't been really thrilled with the last few appointments that the health department has had from the commissioner's office. I feel that the people have been underqualified. They certainly didn't go through the usual vetting process. And in fact, Jeff, do you know that if you get appointed as a commissioner right now, there's no process to be adequately vetted? You don't necessarily have to apply. You don't have to put in your CV or your resume. You don't have to be interviewed. You can just be placed on a department or a department head if the commissioners, like you, I guess. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to shore up. And it's just those kind of things. It's amazing that it's 2022 and there's no firm process on how to appoint department heads, which seems to me incredible. And so again, I want to bring some more transparency. I want to bring some more integrity, and those kind of issues that really need to be done in the commissioner's office.
Great. Now, talk for a second about, so 3 commissioners who obviously have to work together on behalf of the county, 9 council, department heads. How do you, as the leader of the team or one of the leaders, sort of get people to sit around that table and work toward a common goal?
Again, it's related to. I mean, first of all, I'm a nice guy, and anybody can talk to me, Jeff. You know that. And so the second thing is it's just being honest with people. It's not throwing them curveballs or surprises. And I think sometimes honest conversations can be tough, but you need those kind of honest conversations so people know that you're not throwing them any curveballs. That you don't have anything else behind your back that you're trying to get done. This is not Indianapolis. This is not Washington. This is St. Joe County. We should be able, no matter what party you're with, just sit down and we should be able to talk things out and come up with compromises. And, if you can't, you take a vote, but you're at least honest, with it.
Great. Now let's talk for a second budget, just because as we talk priorities, I think some important priorities, but obviously one of the challenges with government is there's never enough dollars to do all the things that need to be done. How does Dr. Westerhausen approach sort of prioritizing and deciding, budget priorities?
So I think your budget is the priorities of what you think is important, and I've kind of outlined those. I mean, I guess I need to get into that whole process to see exactly, what needs to be done, what could be done differently. I don't know. I'll tell you this much. I've been learning a hell of a lot about what the commissioner does, and I know there's a lot more to learn on what the commissioner does. I think if you're going to be a good commissioner, you're going to understand all the different aspects of all the different departments that you're responsible for and do appropriate oversight, I've got a lot more learning to do. So, I've asked various people, and I'll ask you, Jeff. Sometimes I don't know what I should know, and I'm going to need help in, directing me into, what things I should be looking at, what things I should be asking, and then, it's basically what I don't know. It's what I think is important. The bottom line is I always go back to what my dad always told me. He said, be honest and always do the right thing. And I'll be honest to what my priorities are, which is working people. Bottom line is I'd like to make sure we have a community where my kids want to actually come back and live, and my grandkids actually want to stay. So I think that's important. I guess, as I think about business and things like that, I would like to see us become an engineering and manufacturing hub for renewable energy, things. So I think, that I've been saying that since last May. I'd like to see us do something like that. I think it's possible. I've worked now in Kokomo, and I've worked now also in Lafayette, and you can see where, huge business development, like the battery plant, has changed things. So, yeah, those are the kind of things I'm thinking about.
No, I appreciate especially those words of wisdom from your dad. That's great. So
I'm sure your dad said the same thing.
Very, very similar, and I think there needs to be more of those messages these days for sure. Don, in our last few seconds here, I'm going to give you the chance to give the elevator speech for last 30 seconds. Somebody who's undecided on Commission District 1, why should they choose Dr. Don Westerhausen for that role?
Because the reason is because I'm going to work my hardest to do the best for you and the best for working people in St. Joe County, and I'm going to be responsive to you. I've given out my cell phone number because I think people should be that close to the commissioner, where if you have a problem, or you have an idea that you want to share, you should be able to get it rapid access to me, and I should be able to get back with you. And if you have a complaint, I don't know what to do about it, I can find out and make it happen.
Great, sounds good. Dr. Don, last thing, if people wanted more information about your campaign, where should we send them to?
Yeah, so our website is pretty Spartan, but I do have a letter there to tell people why we're running, and that's at www.votewesterhausen.com. I think a lot of what I believe in and my principles and what we've been looking at throughout the various time of the election is mostly on Facebook.
Yep.
They go there. Same thing, it's Vote Westerhausen Facebook.
Great. Dr. Don, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. He's Don Westerhausen. He is candidate for County Commissioner District 1. Don, good luck the rest of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.